Yeah, one of the things in my session that you had advised me to try was to give up television for a month.
Yeah.
Okay, for me, that was a huge deal.
Mm-hmm.
I was a television junkie. I have to admit, I probably still am. But after that month, I went ahead and gave up television for a month. Had the trouble of finding things to do. You know, what am I doing with myself? You know,
Wow.
a lot of nervous energy. You know, oh my gosh, what do I? Because I'd always been using television as a, I guess, I don't know the right word, but for the numbing.
Mm-hmm.
For the numbing.
Very
Okay,
good.
because then I don't have to think about what's going on in my mind. I don't have to think about those bills. I don't have to think about, you know, what are my kids doing? I don't have to think about my extended family. I'm just tuned out. And then it, you know, fills that space so that I don't have to think about those things.
Right.
During that month, I was able to figure out it wasn't as scary as I thought. The first few days were a little bit rocky, but once I realized I'm still in control of what I'm thinking about, it's not all just going to come flooding in and attack me, you know. But one of the other things that I found quite fascinating that anybody else who likes to watch television might find interesting was when I went back to watch television and the shows that I was, you know, were my shows, it was so different.
Yeah.
It was, before it was like I was involved in their lives. When they were sad, I was sad. When they were happy, I was sad. Now, all of a sudden, it was like I see these people acting, and it was corny, you know. And so, anyways, it was just remarkable how much even that medium changes our mental status, you know, and that we all do have things that numb us. So everybody uses something different. I personally use television, other people alcohol, drugs, you know, whatever. But through this awakening process, that also doesn't mean some people do have a immediate change where they drop all those things, and other people it's a slow progress where they're going, okay, well, this no longer fits me. This part no longer fits me. That part no longer fits me. And then they move forward until eventually in a year, they don't even recognize who they were before.
Right.
You know.
And I mean, all these things are coping mechanisms for us, right? So that's really important that you brought that up, that, you know, the transition point from coming to that, peeling away from that like a drug, you know, you're getting used to having your mind kind of numbed all the time. But another thing is also handling the level of awareness that's now new, because now you've reached a new way of awareness, of observation, and you look back at the actual, you see beyond what you're looking at, which is television, right? You notice that it's kind of like this emotional play, this game that is basically manipulating us, you know. I mean, in this reality, how we interact in this world is from our first three chakras, right? We have the root chakra, the sacral, and the solar. And it has to do with, the root is basically your home, your safety, how you feel in your body, how you feel in your environment, right? The second is your sexuality, the exchange, giving and receiving, right? And when those things are out of balance, then the body goes out of balance. The third is your emotional body, how your emotions are, how you control them, whether you feel empowered or disempowered. So in other words, how this external reality is manipulating us is through these main chakras, you know, and so that really shows. So the TV, music, you know, all of these things, these external things that are triggering emotion in us, it's meant completely to have you always living here in the feeling body. Are you hungry? Okay, let's assess that, because you know you're filling up. It's not hunger; it's an emotional lack, or it's an emotional something. So the emotional body goes out of balance. I mean, you know, even sexuality obviously is a huge selling point. You know, with everything, with fashion, with cosmetics, with all the industries that have to do with TV and movies. So that's a way of manipulation. Even our concepts of family, you know, our concept of how the family should be. So we really need to learn to differentiate the difference between what is real and what is not real. And the only way you're going to do that is by getting away from what's they're feeding you, the concept of reality, which is wrong. You know, I work with clients every day, and I am so surprised that when I ask them to feel an emotion, something that they're used to feeling subconsciously every day, they don't know how to identify the emotion. They don't know what they're feeling. And can you imagine, how did we get to this point in society when we are all subconsciously feeling something, but we cannot define it?
Right.
That's a huge disconnect. And it's basically the seed of where all of us are feeling so lost and disconnected, you know. Yeah.
And so that brings us to the point of, why do you think that's happening? Why are they trying to keep, whoever they are, why are they trying to keep us in these lower vibrations or lower chakras, as opposed to connecting and have this awakening? Why do you think they're trying to keep us from that?
Well, as you can see, Lila, in your own personal journey, your journey of awakening has really opened your eyes to look beyond the illusion of things that we're looking at, the things that we are being told that are real, like what we see on TV, like what we're hearing, you know, in the radio and the music and everything around us, and even the things that are happening on a larger scale in our society. We have to understand, once again, how to discern what is real. And it's not necessarily that we have to react, because in this physical realm, three-dimensional realm where we can feel, the tactile, we sense things, our emotions, our senses, our five senses are what are being heavily engaged. That's what engages us in this physical dimension. If you would remove all those senses, what would we be? You know, we would be like these essence, static beings. And so how can you manipulate something from that perspective? So the human body first needs to understand, we need a really heavy education on what we are as humans. We have been heavily misinformed on who we are, you know, and that's the number one thing. The problem is we have no idea who we are. We have no idea what our bodies are capable of. We don't know how the chakra system works, how it's connected to the organs, to the endocrine system. This is going to define your health. It's going to define your well-being, whether you are, you know, getting an illness, or you're storing negative emotions, having traumatic things. The more we educate ourselves on what we are, how we become a product of our environment, the more we're going to understand how to heal. As long as we keep a society in constant suffering, survival mode, pain, believing that they're helpless, they're extremely able to manipulate and control the society in that way. And what if we look around us at our society? What are we doing here? We are surviving. We're barely surviving. We're working hard. We get up in the morning. We have our 9-to-5 job. You know, we go home. We feed the kids. We do homework, and we go to bed, and we start over again. And it's just over and over again. Groundhog Day, right? So we got to take a look at that and take a moment and question where the priorities are, because right now we're being told that survival mode is where we need to be at. That's the right way of living. And when we start going within and start questioning, just the way you did, you pulled away from the TV and you're like, wait a minute, how did I even enjoy that before? Those are not my emotions. Those are, you know, those are not even my beliefs. I don't even agree with the way these people are behaving. So it's almost as if we're drunk, you know, we're just completely sleeping in all of these patterns, these cyclical behavioral patterns. So the call is really for the collective consciousness, for us as human to wake up and open our eyes and say, what are we doing? The proof is in what we're looking at. You know, we have tremendous illness. A lot of people are sick. People have digestive problems. ADD is, you know, here off the wall. Neurological issues. I mean, you name it. And I am a strong believer that the majority of these illnesses have their root in a psychosomatic connection, right? So, of course, the more that you learn about the multidimensional body, you understand that the chakra system is governing. It's governing and heavily connected with all the organs. And our bodies are like sponges. I mean, we're constantly absorbing our experiences, and all of those experiences are being programmed in the body down to the cellular molecular level. And all of that is writing our DNA, right? So what that means in that case is that we are a product of the lineages of our father and mother lineages, right? So everything that they have experienced, we're also experiencing. And so emotionally, our blockages, our traumas, our pain, we're just cycling through those things over and over again. So why is the society doing this? Once again, this is how you manipulate consciousness, right? If a human was taught at an early age to be conscious, to be aware, to be active in their healing, can you imagine how we would be? I mean, me and you, we're working so hard to keep ourselves conscious and awake, and when we do, we see things with our eyes wide open, and we are no longer falling to the deception of this reality, things that are false, unreal.
Right.
And so that is a tremendous healing ability. And when we heal ourselves, we open space for those around us to become conscious and question their reality. We give permission to others, in other words.
And a lot of people need that. I was one of those people who felt like I needed permission. And first I needed it outside of myself. I needed permission to think outside of this box I had created for myself. And then eventually I was the permission. So then I continually give myself permission to think differently, to not worry about what other people are thinking, that it's okay to explore something and you don't have to incorporate that. You're just exploring it, giving the possibility that something might be right, and if you find out it's not right, hey, you just learned about something new, know. But it is wonderful when you allow yourself that permission, and then you are able to change things. For myself, I had constant migraines. I've had them since my mid-20s. And I was experiencing them every day, and it was probably about a year ago. I was having a terrible migraine, and I had a deadline that I had to work on, and I was thinking, I have to go home, I have to go to sleep, this migraine, and then I went, no, I need to get this done. And so I literally connected with myself and said, I realize you're trying to tell me that I'm under stress, and the way that you're telling me I'm under stress is giving me this migraine, but I can no longer work under these conditions. And so we need to find a new way to communicate. That was the last day I had a migraine.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So, when things like that happen, you can't explain it any other way than what you were saying. Yes, I had been to doctors, I'd been on pills, I'd done everything you can do for migraines, insisted it was not psychosomatic, okay? But when you get to the end of what kind of pills they can give you and it's still not helping, all you can look at is, what can I change? What can I do differently? And so I did something differently, and I have a different result. And that's not to say I never have a headache. I have headaches now occasionally, but then that's a check-in to say, okay, I'm stressing out. Let's release that. And then it backs down. But that's one of the amazing things on this journey, is that if that can happen with something that was ruling my life, it was literally ruling my life. If it can happen to something like that, it can happen with small things, it can happen with big things, it can happen with everything. We are in charge of our own bodies.
Exactly.
And so that's
so beautiful. One of the things that we need to understand also is what right and wrong is. Because I see that a lot of people, the concept of guilt and shame really runs our lives. I mean, anything that makes us feel shameful or guilty is just dwelling within the subconscious mind. And what we need to do is question our perception of that. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because how are we going to get people to get to the point where they know that it's okay to either reach out to someone or to keep asking the questions, We've been taught that this life of a lot of suffering and pain is okay, And so right now, if you get anything from this interview, understand that suffering and pain, it's a part of the process, but we are here to experience both aspects. But your organism, you have the choice of coming into the highest expression of yourself. And so that you can access that by integrating all of the pain, the suffering that you're experiencing, and by healing yourself, by asking those questions of whether your patterns in your life are serving you, and making the change. And it takes bravery, as you experience, pulling away from the TV and having those even withdrawal. We have withdrawal from these things that are numbing our mind. But I guess my biggest thing is like, let's hold space for those others that are doing, and connect, reach out to other people that are having these experiences, that are trying to wake up, talk to them, notice the process that they're going to, and support each other as well. It's really important to support each other in this awakening.
I totally agree with that. And that's one of the reasons that I'm willing to share what I've gone through, because I want people to understand I'm experiencing the same things you are. I've been where you've been, and so there is hope. There is things that we can do, and sometimes it's just, like you said, we're stuck in that routine of our lives, and we can't see the other road. We can't see what's different, and so that's a way that we're able to help by sharing our experiences so that people can see there is another way to do it. Yeah.